Have you been hoping to get a free version of Disney Plus? Well, if so, we may have some very good news for you coming quite soon. And for those of you who are wondering, why would Disney offer a free version of their streaming app that's supposed to be based on subscriptions and ads and all of that? Well, they're scared, very scared, of a little app called Tubi. Hello folks, welcome back to the Pro Channel. We are so happy to have you today, and joining us today is Lauren Connor of That Park Place and also of the Genre Guys. Lauren, welcome back.
Thank you.
Lauren, today we're talking about Disney Plus possibly offering a free version. And I'm here to tell you folks, I don't think it's because Disney just wants to give away stuff for free, but we'll show you why they may be in an absolute panic. As we do so, consider clicking that like button. And here we go, Lauren. This is out of That Park Place, the website that if you're not yet bookmarked, well, you should be. And I am the author in this case, but this is not me flouting my writing skills. This is a scoop that we believe needs to be brought to the masses. Disney Plus nearly beaten in ratings by Tubi, according to Nielsen. Now Bob Iger must prevent another loss. And this is what it says. A source over the weekend has informed me that Disney has been running a prototype of what may add as a new feature to Disney Plus in the next months. Apparently, it all comes down to a great fear of Tubi. It's hard to believe that Disney might be afraid of Tubi. By the way, many of you out there might not even know what Tubi is yet. The free streaming platform that uses licensed content and ad-based revenue cost Fox Corp only a measly $440 million to get it up and running. To give you some idea of how much Disney has spent, well, some folks estimate Disney has spent $100 billion on Disney Plus. And I know that's a crazy number. I know. We think it might be right. When you consider the cost of buying Hulu, when you consider the cost of the churn over the past 5 years, when you consider all of the spin that they did on getting Disney Plus up and running. Tubi, $440 million and profitable. Disney Plus, we've estimated in the past $30 billion in the hole. Now, Tubi, right, with that teeny weeny little price for, in perspective of what Disney spent. Now, Tubi is right on the heels of passing Disney Plus in terms of viewer engagement. That's called ratings. Given that Tubi is funded via ads, it's the only number that really matters for them. It also means that Tubi is already likely profitable, whereas Disney Plus is about $30 billion in the hole. And here are the stats on this. We've been watching this over the past year. We did a video recently talking about Tubi's rise, and now Tubi is right on the heels, according to Nielsen. Disney represents 1.7% of all streaming in North America, and Tubi represents 1.6%. It should also be noted, Lauren, that Disney Plus is so far behind Netflix and so far behind YouTube, and even behind Amazon Prime Video, but significantly behind YouTube and Netflix. There's no way they're going to catch up in the foreseeable future. And they know that now. And that's not what they originally thought. And Tubi now could actually overtake them. And that would be a humiliating defeat for Disney Plus if Tubi wins. Now, Lauren, you and I have talked in the past about why Disney Plus is failing so badly. I'd like you to give the audience your take on why exactly one more time, and then we're going to tell folks about the free version of Disney Plus that they may be bringing to the market to try to stop this. But I'm here to tell you, it's going to be desperation. Lauren, how did they arrive in this desperation?
I think there's a bunch of different ways that they did, but one thing that I think is a real detriment to Disney Plus is that even though they have a fairly extensive library, it's not extensive enough. And once you've seen the content that you want to see on Disney Plus, there's not really a great reason to remain subscribed because they can't produce new content at a rate that would keep you activated. The other thing is when you have your core properties that are drawing people in and you're producing content that audience doesn't want to see, they're not likely to stick around. And so not only don't you have enough to keep your audience there, you've alienated the audience that was predisposed to actually support your service.
Good, absolutely. Perfect thoughts on that. And of course, the franchises are decimated, at least the big franchises they were probably counting on to drive subscriptions. So
Yep.
It's another victim. It's a self-victim in this case. They've done it to themselves, but it's another victim of the woke culture war. And we're watching that metastasize into games, of course. And I am all too familiar with where this path leads. Hopefully the investors behind those gaming companies are not blind to what's coming. But according to the source, Disney is using an ABC app and has been apparently for months now to test out how 24/7 live channels would work with their customers. And if they follow the path of Tubi, these 24/7 channels would be free for Disney Plus. So there would be a free version of Disney Plus where all you can get are these channels that have ads on them. And it's kind of like cable 2.0. It's just Disney. So what would that look like? Well, let's take a gander at this. In the ABC app, what they've been testing out is a channel that's just 2020 all the time. Just ABC News Live all the time. Just Caesar Milan, Better Human, Better Dog all the time. ESPN 8, The Ocho all the time, General Hospital, and more. You get the idea. So what would Disney use then? Well, here are some of the suggestions that were sent to us by the source. First of all, they say Star Wars live action shows would have been a great thing if people had thought they were great, but they're not. So it's a little bit, unless you're trying to save face, there's not a real purpose to do a Star Wars channel, and that's sad. Instead, what they might do is a Marvel channel that plays nothing but MCU movies. They also could be looking at 80s and 90s Disney afternoon cartoons channel, with Goof Troop and Tailspin and all of that. They can do a Nat Geo channel and more. But, and here's the thing, Lauren, this is what's amazing. The source is claiming that Disney may have pushed to integrate Hulu so quickly because they need Hulu, they need those Fox cartoons to drive this free cable channel idea if that's what they go with. So they need a Futurama channel. They need a Simpsons channel, which is part of Disney Plus, and they already had that. But they need Family Guy channel. They need King of the Hill channel. You get the idea. And that was revelatory to me because I had never considered that might be why they were pushing so hard for Hulu integration. What do you think of that, Lauren, in terms of Disney now having to lean in to essentially Seth MacFarlane to save the day?
Well, I think focusing on animated content is not necessarily a bad idea. I mean, that's what Disney was mostly known for. And while you're talking about some more adult-oriented content there, I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea either, because those tend to be not so much divisive. If you're going to put something on the background and have it stream continuously, and you're a fan of those properties, then sure, you'll probably watch. I think the danger in having something like this is that, first of all, at least to my understanding, this is going to be Disney competing with itself because they already have an ad-supported lower tier Disney Plus option. And this free version, while it's probably going to have content that isn't going to be there, it may draw viewers to that. And the other danger is, if this model doesn't work, this is absolutely going to expose Disney as being in real trouble because they're going to be looking at those ad metrics. And if they don't sell ads, if they don't get eyeballs, there's nowhere else for Disney Plus to go.
Well, that's right. And that's why I consider this to be a Hail Mary. I actually reached out to the source. I'm waiting to hear back in regards to some of those questions you just asked. But when Disney Plus is sitting at 1.7% of total viewership, and by the way, Hulu has been dropping. Hulu has been dropping in its viewership ratings, according to Nielsen, year to year, and likely because it's being integrated into Disney Plus. So it's losing that viewership. But that's not saving Disney. Disney in the past was at 1.9. And that I thought was very low for a company like Disney. When they're looking at Netflix so far ahead, they'll never catch it. YouTube so far ahead, they'll never catch it. That's bad enough because that was not their intent when they got into streaming. Their intent was to win. They're not going to win. But the idea that they're going to be beaten by Tubi, well, that's just, that can't happen, And so investors, if they find out that Tubi is about to beat Disney Plus or is beating Disney Plus, in a month or two, then that's going to be devastating to Disney. And I'll tell you why, Lauren. Partly this is because when Disney bought Fox, one of the big reasons that Disney was buying Fox, not just, trying to get the X-Men, not just trying to get Miracle on 34th Street, but they wanted the Fox streaming catalog and they wanted Hulu. And so Disney spent $70 billion to buy the Fox assets. $70 billion. And this was all supposed to create some sort of giant streaming empire. Tubi is owned by what remained of Fox after Disney bought all that stuff. So Fox Corp came out of that, and they purchased and essentially built out this little tiny Tubi app. And they spent nothing. and now it's about to beat Disney Plus. And Tubi doesn't really have much in the way of exclusives. It has some, but it's mostly licensed content. And they're going with this new model. It doesn't matter how many people are subscribed to Tubi. It just doesn't matter. It only matters how much they're watching the content, how many ads are being played in front of people. That's what matters. And Disney is now in this very strange place, like you mentioned. They're chasing the Netflix model, right? They're trying to get more subscribers. And now there's this entirely new model that's that may extend Disney out into two different or too many different models it's confusing to consumers and competes against itself. Just like with ESPN, Lauren, where they've got the ESPN standalone, and now they're talking about a JV thing that's connected with other companies, and people are scratching their heads going, what is going on? Where's this unified vision? Netflix has Netflix. That's what Netflix is.
Well, I think there's been a distortion in the thinking of the market in that when Disney started buying up all of these major franchises, I think everybody started thinking that holding IP and locking it behind a door is king. That's how we're all going to make money. And I think the key is, yes, you do want to own a valuable IP, but you want to license it out to other people. What people want is choice. They don't like the idea of being locked in. They never liked the idea of being locked in. That's why you had all of the cable cutters who didn't want to be locked into a contract paying for a bunch of channels that they didn't want. They wanted to go to an a la carte model with the idea that I want to be able to pay for this specific show or this specific show and get just what I want and pay a fair value for it. And instead what they've done is they've forced, if you want to see the content that is valuable to you, you again have to buy a package that is like cable. It may not cost as much and you may not be locked into a contract, but once you've consumed that content, there's no reason to stay. And so I think it would be more valuable for these companies to be licensing out the content like they used to other channels, because then you got multiple revenue streams coming in.
Well, that's the giant secret that Disney doesn't want to talk about, Lauren, is that going this route was never necessary. Now, doing your own app is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But going the route they went with Disney Plus was never necessary. They could have continued to license out content to Netflix, and Netflix would have had to have borne all of the burdens of paying Disney and hosting the content. And there was nothing but positivity for Disney out of that. And Disney could have had their own app that hosted their legacy content and stuff like, Moana and Tangled, and they could have had Wreck-It Ralph. They could have had, maybe they could have got some licensed stuff like Bluey. They didn't have to go in spending tens of billions of dollars a year on content like the Book of Boba Fett and Echo, and all this stuff. They spent so much money, and it was an arms race for subscribers. They had to beat Netflix and subscribers. That was the whole idea. And that was based on a decades-old strategy by Twitter, which was, we'll take massive losses so long as we can get the engagement, and then we'll monetize it later. We'll figure out the monetization afterwards. And that was the plan by Disney, and they went all in on it. They went all in to such a degree, Lauren, that they even had to raise the prices at the parks to extreme levels that's off-putting to customers, but they did it because the parks are essentially by far the most profitable part of the company, and they needed to subsidize this streaming arms race with parks revenue. And now they're screwed on the parks.
And this is where you get into distortion of the market again, too, because they subsidize subscribers landing on Disney Plus by discounting the cost with bundling with Verizon and all of that stuff. That's great for building your subscriber base, but they're still offering deals like that. So those subscribers aren't bringing in the revenue that you would expect or hope. I think there's also the case to be made that if they had continued licensing their content to Netflix, for instance, if you produce a turkey or two, yeah, people are going to talk about it for a while, but if it goes onto Netflix, people won't watch it. They'll stop talking about it and it goes away and it doesn't damage the Disney brand. Now, because you're on this Disney streaming service that they have spent so much money trying to build up, it's directly talked about as this is a vulnerability for the Disney brand, and they're already damaged. They're just continuing to damage themselves by pushing things this way, because what you're hearing is Disney, not this particular Marvel movie, for instance.
And the insanity, of course, continues, Lauren, because even after they made this very poorly thought out decision, and listen, I could go through 100 ways that they messed up on Disney Plus. I'll give you just one. Just one would be that This idea that you would take your movies straight out of the box office and weeks later throw it on Disney Plus at no charge, that annihilated your box office potential. Not only that, it annihilated your secondary DVD, Blu-ray, VHS, market that you had for decades. There was no reason to not say, hey, there's a window of opportunity for you to buy this movie or rent this movie for extra cost if you're a Disney Plus subscriber. Make it a month, make it 2 months, and then it'll be free. There was never a reason. And there was no reason to not offer special editions via Disney Plus. They didn't do that, right? Because it was a flat out throw everything you have, take every loss you can at getting subscribers. And now the subs don't matter because it's ad-based revenue. But Lauren, this is what's insane to me. This is where we get into, ideology and how it clouds the minds of the C-suite at Disney. Lauren, imagine if they had just given the folks what they wanted. Imagine if Star Wars had corrected itself at first sight of, hey, the fans don't like this direction. We need to change. We need to do what they want. Imagine when Phase 4 led into a Phase 5 dive of Marvel. If they had immediately said, whoa, 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 this is not what people want. They don't want the M, she, you. Let's go back to the characters they care about. If they had done those sorts of things, Lauren, they would not be in a position where an upstart streaming service for free that's about on the same level as like Pluto or Roku is going to pass them. Tubi wasn't even known by most people a year ago. And Tubi's about to beat Disney Plus. And it's because of those kinds of creative decisions where they have hardened their hearts and they refuse to change no matter what the market says. Lauren, I'll give you final word on it.
I think it depends on how you mean if they had course corrected. If they had continued to produce content on Disney Plus that was more amenable to what the audience wanted, they'd still be having some sky-high production costs for producing that content. If they had changed the content style, for instance, I know a lot of people have mentioned, well, what if instead you did animated movies? Maybe that could work. I could see that costing less and perhaps bringing in more of an audience if it was done right. But I think what the audience wants is live action content. And so I think you're right. The major mistake is they sort of cannibalized their own box office at the theaters by putting things on the streaming service way too soon, or at least without some kind of a value add. And so I think that's major. That's the major mistake where they lost out on a lot of revenue that they could have had.
Lauren, where would they have been if they had just not fired Gina Carano, and if season 3 of The Mandalorian had been at least as good as season 2?
It at least would have given them a hopeful place to continue building out the property. I still think that the final nail, I think, for a lot of people was actually Ahsoka. I thought that it was going to be a little earlier with Obi-Wan, but people were still holding out hope right up until they got Ahsoka, I think. And it's after that I think it's collapsed as near as I can tell. Like, I truly do believe that Star Wars is dead at this point, and I'm having a hard time seeing how they're going to resuscitate the MCU too. I think they're in an awful place, and I don't see a way out.
And that is how, Lauren, you get to the possibility of a free Disney Plus, not through a strong hand of cards that you've been dealt, and it's even worse when, well, Disney's the one who dealt themselves their own cards. Lauren, thank you for stopping by today and walking us through this. Folks, if you're wanting a free version of Disney Plus that just plays 24/7 cable channels, you can't pick what you're going to watch, but you can pick within some sort of parameter what you're going to watch, and it just plays nonstop. Well, that may be on the way. So that's good news for those of you who are wanting that sort of thing. For Disney, the company, though, not a great place to be. Not a great place to be. They wanted to be charging ahead, not defending their flank. Lauren, tell us about what you're up to over on your channel as you continue to go through the extended universe of Star Wars. What's up next?
I'm continuing to read Vision of the Future. I believe the next chapter is supposed to be 20, possibly 21. I'm a little bit behind because I've had a bunch of things going on lately, but I'm hoping to pick up on the recording again real soon.
All right, incredible, and we can't wait to see you again on future Genre Guys episodes. Folks, Genre Guys just debuted yesterday for members of the channel on the Pro Channel right here. And then in 2 months, Genre Guys content goes from being member exclusive to ad-based revenue over on That Part Place Podcast Online. We call it T3PO. It's a brand new channel. So if you'd like to check out Genre Guys without being a member here, although we would love to have you, go check out T3PO and enjoy that content. It is fabulous with Lorne Connor, with Hangry Table, and with LW Ghost. They do such a good job. Folks, the Pro Show is live in just a couple of hours, and, well, we're dealing with a spicy piece of content that we didn't even know how we could possibly bring to you. We have game planned how we're going to talk about it on YouTube. It's going to be interesting. It's Disney related. It's exclusive. It's a major scoop. Folks, like, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms, and on the way out the door, don't forget, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.
Listen up, my brothers and sisters. You've been listening to Phils and those with an agenda to destroy your brain cells for far too long. It's time to change your way of doing things. Hold up. TPP is the place to be. Covering the news so honestly. It's a team that's cool and tried and true. Ahead of the culture curve, they're trying to keep you. Jonas and Pro, they run the show, and they dragged in the bearded culture casino. You got Valiant and Lord and Fourth of Light. Wonderful people, yeah, they're alright. They got weird bringing in people like Floral, but made no mistake with Lorena Creole. Amelia and John, stuttering guitarist. Martin and Tawny and someone called CMS. Fats even makes a bunch of other graphics. Did I mention a partnership with Bending in the comics? Fat Guy is a guy and Doc Matt does the web stuff. There's probably some people I missed. I hope they're not telling you the news that should be fun. With accurate info that's not been spun. You can figure it out as you will see. The TPP is the place to be.
Yeah, Wilton. That was actually pretty good, or white. But I think you might have forgotten Vash.
Well, he lost all his friends. But it was implied.